I am really excited to be here today. I am a pretty new entrepreneur. I've only been an entrepreneur for a year and a half. And I wanted to talk to everyone about something that's really important to me, and I think it should be really important to everyone, because this is a billion-person problem. There's a lot of talk about inclusion and diversity, and I think inclusion is a technical problem. And everyone in this room has the capacity to solve it and make the world actually better and inclusive. So I want to get into it by talking about how we've seen technology change. So if you think about TV and the experience of watching TV, we have Netflix and a bunch of other streaming services, but we used to actually watch a television. And the television itself has gone through a lot of transformation, and we have smart TV, and it's getting more and more difficult for some people to use the TV, especially someone who's older. So I want you all to meet my partner's grandmother. She is 93 years old. She's freaking adorable. And we have a lot of family get-togethers at her place. Ma was watching TV at one of our family get-togethers, and it was ridiculously loud. But she's an old lady, and we're not about to change what she needs. So we want to make sure that she's comfortable, and we all can adjust around her. So the family was all in the corner, just catching up. But I really wanted to check in and see if she was okay. So I went up to her, and I was like, Ma, do you need anything? Is there something I can do? And she was so annoyed, and she told me, I don't even like what's on TV. Can you just turn it off? And this really surprised me, because I've seen Ma using the TV. I've seen her using the remote. But the problem here was Ma actually didn't know how to use her remote. The problem was, oops, I think I'm on the wrong slide. Yeah, the problem was that she actually didn't know where the off button was. And that's crazy for us to think about that, right? But for someone who is old and is experiencing memory loss, one button having two functions is really complex. And this is a technical problem, and we can easily solve it. We can make remotes that are accessible to seniors so that they can be independent. So let's take a look at this now from the digital side. We've all used our iPhones. I use the calculator all the time. It's not a good thing. I wish I was better at math, but I depend on it a lot. And there's this ridiculous feature in the Apple calculator where if you make a mistake, so if I type something and I made a mistake, and if I had to rectify it, I would just hit the clear button. But it turns out in the app, there's this hidden gesture where you can swipe on the numbers, and it would remove each number that you entered. I'm a person who uses technology every single day of my life, and I couldn't figure out this gesture. So now if you think about it from someone who's older, who has hands that tremble, and they do this accidentally, what happens then? We're making products that are becoming harder and harder for people to use. And we can fix this problem. This is a technical problem. All we have to do is build better UI, so someone like me or someone who's older can easily use technology. The important thing that I want to tell here is that we are building digital products, but it's important for us to recognize that the products that we're building is going beyond digital, and it's impacting people's experience even in the physical world. So I want to talk about Beyonce. Because first, I really like Beyonce, and I would like to go for a concert one day. And how would I go about attending her concert? I would make sure that I check when her schedule's available, her concerts are available. I'll go immediately online and try and book a ticket before it becomes unavailable. How would this experience be for someone who's older or someone with a disability? Will they be able to go online and buy the ticket in the same speed as I could? Or will they be even able to go buy a ticket online? It turns out it's not possible. A blind fan is suing Beyonce because they couldn't purchase a ticket for her concert on her website. This is crazy, because what impact does this really have? It's saying that we are introducing digital barriers that are actually barring people from taking part in the physical world. So even if you look at this room right now, how many people here are with a disability? And what was the barrier for them to attend this event? Is it that people with disabilities not interested in TechTO? I don't think so. Are there other barriers that are in place that are barring people from taking part in TechTO? Yes, I think that's possible. And I feel all of us in the technology industry have the capacity to solve this problem. We can make our products accessible and inclusive, and we can actually have a wider audience, a more inclusive audience. And how does that really change the narrative? How many people would be in this room, and what kind of conversations we would be having if those people were able to take part? I know that we can't easily change HR policies. I know that we can't easily change physical buildings. I know that we can't easily change product lines and just introduce a new product. But I know that we can easily change design and code, and we have the power and the capacity to do that. So I encourage all of you and all the business that you're part of right now and the products that you're trying to sell online, because in the end of the day, there are people who are using it, and we can really make sure those products are accessible and inclusive so that everyone can use it. Thank you.
Questions? I'll start. With technology today, do you think most programmers aren't thinking about different audiences, or do you think the products are not built for different audiences and use cases?
That's a really good question. I think the problem is that our design and development teams are filled with people who are able-bodied. And if we don't experience the problem, we're not able to think of the solution. And the important thing here is to make sure that we actually get diverse perspectives. So someone who's a developer can have some skill sets, but it's important that we actually engage with people with disabilities to know what their experience is, what they would like, and include them in the design and development process.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Second question. Great story, by the way. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your insight on what's your take on the use of biometrics with improving accessibility of technology to consumers and people that interact with them?
Could you elaborate on that?
Like biometrics, like fingerprint recognition, voice recognition, like iris, and like, so if you're someone that is visually impaired and if you have to interact with technology to do your work, I'm not sure exactly if that's the case or when that would happen, but just I'm curious to know, in your perspective, what do you see of the role of biometric access in the place of technology to improve the ability for someone to be included in events and in other aspects of using technology, but using through technology? Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I think people with disabilities use assistive technology. So there is voice recognition, there's voice to text, there's text to voice. So depending on the person's ability, there is a lot of technologies that are already available that is making it easier for them to access computers and engage online. The problem is that companies that are building websites and building applications are not taking into consideration those configurations. So even though you have the iPhone and the iPhone has some features that makes it accessible, the people who are building iPhone apps are not taking into those things into consideration, so it actually works for people with disabilities. So there's a little bit of mismatch on technology available and how we're building for it.
Cool. One last question.
Hello. Here, hi.
Hey.
Great presentation, thank you. I just had one question. What in your experience has been the biggest barrier to solve for this bigger inclusion problem? I mean, the world is becoming smaller. We're all trying to be as inclusive as we can. But yes, we do tend to ignore the things that you mentioned today. So what has been the biggest barriers in your experience, and how do you think we can overcome them?
Yeah, that's a really good big question. I think for me the biggest barrier is the the separation of people with disabilities and people who are able-bodied. It's just situations. Everyone's going to grow old. Everyone's abilities are going to change. And it's really recognizing that we all can be and probably will be in this situation, and seeing it as an opportunity for innovation. Right now, a lot of companies are looking at it from a compliance standpoint, which really helps because we have a bunch of customers because of that. But it's really understanding that there's a market that you're actually not serving, and it could be a good business opportunity.
Thank you.